This was shared by Christina, and this is also kind of going viral on the blogosphere as we speak. Christina, thank you for sharing this. And this is kind of a little bit surprising and disappointing. Working Families Party endorses Elizabeth Warren after backing Bernie Sanders in 2016. This is from the Daily Beast. So chances are everybody at the Daily Beast was popping champagne while they wrote this headline. They were probably thrilled about this. Keep in mind, Chelsea Clinton sits on the board of the Daily Beast. Anyway, Working Families Party endorses Elizabeth Warren after backing Bernie Sanders in 2016. After backing Bernie Sanders in 2016, Working Families Party on Monday voted to endorse Elizabeth Warren. So it came down to a vote. Warren earned almost 61% of the vote in the first round of ranked choice, followed by Sanders on almost 36%. More than 80% of voters listed Warren and Sanders as their top two picks. So right off the bat, what might be going on here is this is that whole thing of this is that whole electability issue that they bring up, where you have the corporate media telling you 24 hours a day that a Bernie Sanders is unelectable, despite having the largest grassroots following, despite coming out of nowhere in a 2016 primary and winning 22 states, despite being the person who mobilizes more small dollar support, meaning individual support, than any other candidate, despite beating Trump in poll after poll after poll. You still have a corporate media that won't say his name. I think there was something that came out like ABC has spent a matter of minutes covering him. And you're told that someone like a Warren is more electable. So when you're given a ranked choice ballot, and maybe you're somebody who has listened to those messages time and time again, and it started to take root, you're handed a ranked choice ballot where you can say, okay, who are the people that you want? You might say, gee, I feel like Warren's the most electable, so I'm going to vote for her. But Sanders is definitely my number two. Now, on a ranked choice ballot, you should actually probably do the opposite. You should do the opposite, where you should say, this is the person I like the best. This is the person that I would want second best. But you get the idea. There's some people that might have been their logic going through this. They're convinced Bernie's not electable. And they know that they don't want to see 4 more years of Trump. So they're like, well, my first choice is the person who's most electable, who the media has shoved down my throat is electable. So that could be part of it, but let's go on. Let's see what else is going on here. Here's a quote from the Working Families Party National Director, Maurice Mitchell. Senator Warren strikes fear into the hearts of the robber barons who rigged the system and offers hope to millions of working people who have been shut out of our democracy and economy. Our job now is to help Senator Warren build the mass movement that will make her transformational plans a reality. Maurice, given your line of work, or rather your position, you have to know how the thing with those robber barons ended. Elizabeth Warren wagged her finger at Wells Fargo, and she made a damn good speech. It was a great speech. It sounded fantastic. There have been other people who have sat in the White House and talked really great and then did next to nothing. We actually had that for 8 years under Obama, and that's why we have Trump now. And Warren followed in Obama's footsteps there of saying great words and sounding fantastic. It was an inspiring speech. It really was. And then she did nothing. No prosecution, nothing. She did absolutely nothing. So she'll have a good moment when the cameras are on, but it will equal zero action. Just like she has backpedaled on Medicare for all. She cannot explain her military budget votes, but when the camera's on, she'll talk about the military budget and how bad it is. But she can't explain why she's voted for it in the recent past. And if the national director of the Working Families Party doesn't realize that that's how that moment ended, that, you know, they're going to use this as a talking point to prop up Liz Warren and say, hey, Robert Barron, she strikes fear in them. Really? Are they worried she's going to yell at them? I don't think that strikes fear in them. I think it would strike fear in them if she actually got behind policy that would break up the big banks, like what Bernie Sanders wants to do. So if you don't know that that's not how that ended, that she wagged her finger and it was a great moment. Like it was a great speech, but then she did nothing. She took no action. Do you not realize that's how that ended? And if you don't, why are you the director of this organization? And I don't know anything about Maurice Mitchell. I really don't. Other than that they are the national director for the Working Families Party. But why would you point to that when you know how it ended? And if you don't know how it ended, why would you point to it? She made a great speech, yeah, but then she did nothing. Why would you want to accent something where her actions didn't match her words? Is that what we want in a leader? That's not what I want in a leader. We can't afford that, by the way. We can't afford somebody else who talks nice and then does nothing. We can't afford that right now. We really can't. We can't afford 4 years of underwhelming policy. So then a Republican wins again in 2024, which, by the way, I don't think Liz Warren would beat Trump. I think it's highly unlikely she would beat Trump. I think he would go to, I mean, just the fact that she was willing to take that DNA test, he will. I mean, she'll beat him in the debates. She won't, from a debate standpoint, she won't lose, but he'll have his soundbite moments. He'll have his zinger moments. He'll rile up his base. She's not going to appeal to unlikely voters. There's not people that don't go out and vote. They're not going to show up if she's the nominee. And then she's going to do more dumb things like, oh, I'm going to boycott Fox News. There's 3 major news networks in this country that are all equally corrupt and shouldn't exist because none of them have any business being in news and information. All 3 of them are conservative. One is neo-fascist. The other 2 are just right-wing. So you're going to not go on the neo-fascist one and you think you're somehow proving something when you're a politician. If you're a politician, you go on every platform and you try to connect with people. You don't not go on a platform just because it's some fringe right-wing platform. When it's a major news network. It's still a major news network in this country. It shouldn't be, but it is. And if it is, and you're a politician, you go on it. And if you don't go on it, that reflects on you. Because that doesn't scream leader. That screams coward. And you're not making some moral stand. That's ridiculous. And this is who the working families think will be the bold leader that can beat Trump. They think that can beat Trump, apparently. All right, let's see what other quotes are in here. We're lucky to have 2 strong progressive candidates leading in this race. Senator Warren and Senator Sanders have both helped shape the ideological terrain on which this campaign is being waged. They have proven an effective team on debate stages and in the polls, and we hope the partnership continues. We're proud to call both of them allies in this fight for a more just America. Well, Liz Warren also has the support of Center for American Progress and Third Way. All those centrist organizations that are more focused on defeating any progressive agenda than they are at defeating Trump. So this is disappointing news that the working families endorsed Liz Warren over Bernie. And I think it has to do with, well, they think that Liz Warren is the more electable because, when cable news keeps telling you time and time again that Bernie's unelectable, that Bernie's some fringe guy, and they just don't cover him, they just ignore him, they don't even list him. I mean, half the time they don't even mention Bernie when they're talking about viable candidates. I mean, you can see clip and time again. They'll mention Biden, they'll mention Warren, then they'll mention someone like Cory Booker even, or Klobuchar. I mean, some of these cable news networks, it's like, when are you going to mention Bernie? So, and I guess, unfortunately, that stuff's effective. That stuff is effective because the Working Families Party just made the wrong call. And I don't know. I mean, maybe, I don't know a ton about that organization. Maybe they're just straight up not progressive at all. I'm not crazy familiar with that organization. I'm not crazy familiar with the director, but it's weird that you would pick a quote where you would say, yeah, remember this thing she did with the bankers? You mean when she made a good speech and then did nothing else? When she didn't have any action? Oh, go back to bed, America. She made a good speech. The guy probably felt bad about himself. The guy from Wells Fargo probably felt bad for like 30 seconds. Then he saw his bank account, felt good again. Liz Warren strikes fear in nobody. The only people Liz Warren strikes fear in should be the people who don't want to see Trump get reelected. That's who Liz Warren should strike fear in. The people who don't want 4 more years of Trump. Because she'd lose. All right.
Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. Get your news on with Ron. Don't you want to know what's going on? We're getting our news on today. You can tweet me an article at Ron Placone. We'll go through it together and